Picture a barbarian, fur-clad savage burning libraries, illiterate warrior smashing statues. That image is wrong. The word barbarian comes from Greek. It meant someone whose speech sounds like ba, gibberish, the ancient equivalent of calling someone a foreigner. Nothing more. Here's the real surprise. Rome had known these barbarians for over 400 years before they took power. Most were already Christians. Many had served in Roman armies. The fall of Rome wasn't an alien invasion. It was more like a hostile corporate takeover by people who'd been working in the mailroom for centuries. To understand what happened, we need to strip away the mythology and see these peoples as Rome saw them. Not monsters, but neighbors. The Greeks invented a term for anyone who didn't speak Greek. Non-Greek speakers, nomads, non-urban peoples, the illiterate, or barbaroi. Rome inherited this worldview. The Danube and the Rhine rivers marked the boundary of civilization. Beyond lay endless forests filled with primitive peoples. But this was partly propaganda. These Germanic societies were organized, had their own laws, their own kings, their own trade networks. Rome knew this because Romans had been dealing with them since at least 100 BCE, when the Cimbri and the Teutones nearly destroyed the Republic. For centuries, the relationship was complex. Trade flowed across the frontier. Diplomacy maintained uneasy peace. Germanic warriors called foederati, treaty soldiers, served in Roman armies, sometimes rising to high command. By 400 CE, most Germanic peoples had converted to Arian Christianity. Arian Christians believed Jesus was created by God, not co-eternal. Rome considered this heresy, but it was still Christianity. The peoples who invaded weren't strangers, they were neighbors Rome had negotiated with, traded with, and fought alongside for generations. When the Western Empire fragmented, it didn't dissolve into chaos. It was partitioned into recognizable successor states. The Franks took northern Gaul, future France. The Visigoths claimed southern Gaul and Spain. The Vandals crossed to North Africa, the only Germanic group with a navy. They sacked Rome in 455. The Angles and Saxons migrated to Britain. The Ostrogoths eventually controlled Italy. Each group carved out specific territories and established functioning kingdoms. These weren't random hordes wandering aimlessly. They were organized peoples claiming pieces of an empire that could no longer defend itself. The map of Europe was being redrawn, but it was still a map with borders, capitals, and kings. What did this transformation look like on the ground? Meet Sidonius Apollinaris, bishop, aristocrat, letter writer in southern France during the 480s and 490s. His letters describe negotiating with the Visigothic king Uric. His complaints? The Visigoths were uncouth. They didn't appreciate Latin poetry. They smelled of garlic and onions, and they spoke a harsh language. What he didn't describe: mass slaughter, civilization ending, total chaos. Sidonius adapted, he negotiated, he survived. He kept writing letters to his friends, complaining about his new rulers' lack of literary taste. Life went on, just with new, less cultured bosses who had no appreciation for Virgil. Sidonius's experience reflects a broader pattern historians call the continuist argument. The transformation from ancient to medieval world wasn't sudden collapse. It was gradual metamorphosis over centuries. Urban centers gave way to rural manners, Latin blended with Germanic languages, pagan religion yielded to Christianity, a centralized empire fragmented into regional kingdoms, professional armies became warrior aristocracies. Each change happened slowly, unevenly, across different regions at different speeds. A person living in 476 CE, the year the last Western emperor was deposed, wouldn't have known their world had ended. They were adapting, negotiating, surviving. So what actually fell in 476? The Western emperor, gone, centralized taxation collapsed. The large professional army disbanded. Long-distance trade reduced significantly, but local government continued. The church grew stronger than ever, becoming the primary institution of literacy and administration. Latin survived among elites. Roman law was adapted by every successor kingdom. Agricultural practices remained unchanged. And the Eastern Roman Empire, what we call Byzantium, continued for another 1,000 years. Constantinople deflected threats westward precisely because it remained too strong to conquer, eventually sending the Ostrogoths to take Italy in 493. The Dark Ages narrative serves a purpose. It makes the Renaissance seem more dramatic. Medieval scholars supposedly lost all ancient knowledge, and then Renaissance heroes rediscovered it. This story is propaganda, invented by Renaissance writers to glorify their own era. The church preserved classical texts throughout the medieval period. Monasteries copied manuscripts. Roman law codes formed the basis of medieval legal systems. The successor kingdoms weren't chaos. They were functional states with courts, laws, and administrations, different from Rome, certainly. Less sophisticated in some ways, but not darkness, not collapse, transformation. The Germanic peoples who inherited Rome wanted to participate in Roman civilization, not destroy it. Visigothic kings issued law codes in Latin. Ostrogothic rulers patronized Roman scholars. Frankish monarchs adopted Roman administrative practices. They saw themselves as successors to Rome, not its destroyers. The transformation was real. The medieval world differed profoundly from the ancient one. But it emerged from Rome, carrying Roman DNA in its laws, its language, its religion, and its institutions. The barbarian invasions were neither barbarian in the savage sense nor invasions in the southern sense. They were the culmination of centuries of contact, negotiation, and integration. Rome didn't fall to strangers. It was transformed by peoples who had lived alongside it for generations and who built the medieval world from its foundations.